My story is about a friend of mine called Claire, and I haven't seen her or heard from her in a while, but she and I were once very close and we used to talk on the phone all the time. And she rang me up one day and she said, you know, I woke up this morning and something wasn't right. And I said to her, well, Claire, it's our age, isn't it? Increasingly there are going to be mornings when you wake up with a general feeling of malaise. And she said, oh no, it's not that, it's a physical thing. It's a discoloration of the skin. Well, I remembered from science lessons at school that a cherry red discoloration of the skin could be a symptom of poisoning. No, she said, it's not carbon monoxide poisoning. Maybe it'll get better in a couple of days. I'll ring you and let you know. So the next time she called me, she said that it had got worse. This discoloration of the skin was now purple. And I said to her, well, have you tried putting an upside down glass tumbler on it? Because if you've got raised purple dots on skin. No, she said, it's not meningitis. I think I'm turning into an aubergine. Well, normally any remark I would try and relate back to the fact that we're women or our age or what use is a man. And I just couldn't find any way to link what she just said to any of those things. So I simply said to her, you think you're turning into a vegetable? She said, well, it's a fruit technically. So I said, well, why don't you come round to my house and we'll open a bottle of wine and we'll have a couple of glasses and I'm sure we can sort this out. And I was actually quite keen to get a look at her because I wanted to know whether or not she'd been ravaged by the disease or improved by it. I could imagine her with this gorgeous purple skin, perhaps a bit squeaky to the touch, and this ripe, fecund, aubergine-shaped body. But she didn't want to come and see me, and nor did she want to put a photo of herself on Facebook or on Twitter, or even send it to me in an email. She said, I think I need to find a self-help group. So she was going to have a look in the yellow pages and call me back and let me know. And she called me back quite soon afterwards actually and said she'd found somewhere and it sounded quite promising. She'd already spoken to them. They were called Managing Change and they were going to meet the next night. So of course I asked her to let me know afterwards. And she didn't call me for a couple of days and I started to get really worried. I had called her obviously again and again and got no answer. And I was just getting to the stage where I thought I was going to have to go and break her door down and find out what had happened when she called me back. So I said, well, Claire, how are you? Are you any better? How was the self-help group? And she said, oh, well, I went along and they started to talk about exit strategies. But it was nothing to do with suicide. And then they started talking about organograms, but it was nothing to do with sexual intercourse. And they talked about transparency and transformation and empowerment. So I said, well, was it a cult? She said, no, it was, that's office jargon. That's how people talk to each other in offices. They were strangers who had met to discuss strategies for getting promotion at work. So I said, well, was it any use? She said, oh no, it was terribly dull, but I met someone. And the way she described it, he had hair like curly kale and eyes the colour of cucumber, and his heart, as she was later to discover, was like the heart of an iceberg lettuce, intricately layered, tightly wrapped, and pure and fresh. And it was at that point that we began to disconnect from each other. We had been such good friends for so long and really loved each other and shared everything. And yet this gap opened between us that I've never been able to close since. Yes, she had a boyfriend and I didn't, and she was turning into an aubergine and I wasn't. Whatever it was, I kept contact with her, of course, on Facebook until quite recently. when I uploaded a photo of myself that was very flattering. I never upload any other kind. And I had just come back from holiday and I was looking golden and bronzed. And she left a very strange comment underneath. She said, you look rather orange in that photo. And then she said, you're looking rather swollen in the middle. And I was offended, of course. So I typed back and I said, well, what are you trying to say, Claire? And she said, I think you're turning into a pumpkin. So I unfriended her, of course, and I sulked for a few days. And then I thought, you know, perhaps I've been really quite lonely recently. Perhaps there is some kind of physical manifestation of that loneliness that I hadn't even noticed. So when I heard that this self-help group was meeting again tonight, I decided to come along. That there was a part of me that was hoping that perhaps Claire would be here and she might hear what I've got to say and we might be reconciled. But even if you can't help me to manage my condition, I thought I might get a shag out of it. So thank you for hearing my story, and I look forward to hearing yours and perhaps talking to some of you in more detail a little bit later on tonight. So thank you very much and good night.